Hello. Something? Huh? We'll be here for a while. Hello, hello. I think we've got Holly so far.
Hey,
What's up?
how are you?
Doing good. I'm about to get the TikTok going as soon as I can figure out how to plug it in. And I'm gonna try this for a minute. I haven't done a dual live and all this stuff before. Well, I have done it, but it was during the pandemic. Remember, I got 2 other people in here in the room. Hello, hello, hello. Dr. Walker and Miss Carolyn. Dr. Walker and Miss Carolyn, welcome. Hi. Hope you guys can hear me. I don't know. Let's see. It says mute. No, we don't want to mute. You guys hear me? Thumbs up. Can you hear me? Got me? Can you hear me? If you can't hear me, there's a caption at the bottom of it. You guys can see that. Pretty cool.
Is my video working?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can now, but my volume was down. I just didn't know it. What about my video?
There's no video on my side?
I don't know. No, I can see your video. Can you see mine?
I cannot. Welcome. We're about to be starting the seminar here soon. If you guys are interested in joining in on the PowerPoint, just send me a message on here and we'll figure out how to do it straight away. I'm gonna wait for another couple of people to show up here. How's the workout? Yeah. For me, about an hour.
About an hour.
Did you need to set up an appointment or anything?
Oh, it's just that I got an email saying that I'll get charged.
That's just renewing your contract. It's not going to be a flat. It's whatever that money is spread out over.
Oh, okay. So it's not
Yeah,
one charge of $600.
No. It's just it shows the entirety of contract going forward, which is the next 6 months. So it's going to be the normal
Oh,
payment.
okay. That's all.
Okay,
Thank you.
no problem. That stresses everybody out.
Yeah, I was.
They need to change it, but it's coming from the Wi-Fi people, not me. So I might go in there and try to fix that wording the way that looks. It freaks everybody out. It would me too.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, all right.
I'm having a treat while we're talking nutrition. I don't know if y'all can see it.
That's from that kombucha, right?
Yes. I start craving it.
Get some more people trying to come in. Hold on. Admit. Now we got Gabby and who else? Somebody else. We got Gabby, Margaret, Holly, Carolyn, Dr. Walker, me. We'll wait another couple minutes because you know how people are. They like to be fashionably late. I posted in the group format. I know there's some BPT people in here. There's some group people in here. Some you know, like Q&A things that you may want to ask questions for or anything like that. If you have any questions, we can get some knocked out now while we're waiting, or we can wait till the end of it. We may, you know, purge some questions loose through this whole process. What we're going to be doing today is talking about mainly the basics of nutrition. So this may be really basic information for you, or it may be really advanced information for you. It doesn't, you know, it's okay either way. This is also our first time for me using this platform in this manner of having the PowerPoint going and Zoom going, and also closed caption and everything being recorded. So it's pretty cool. You know, I put my TikTok the other day. What was it? To paraphrase, any type of growth always is preceded by a crisis. All right. So we had this big, huge crisis of this virus, and we had to learn how to get all our information online. So it's working out pretty good post-virus now. So we've increased value for people, which is Raquel, trying in. All right. Raquel's in. I'm going to wait a couple more minutes here. Everybody okay? Thumbs up. I can't see everybody. I know some people were concerned about being on camera. You don't have to be on camera. Just you just got to look at my ugly mug for a little bit. It's fine. Put your camera down, put on some headphones, and kick back, maybe watch a little bit. You can turn your camera off if you want. The caption and closed caption part of the can you guys see that bottom? Is that translating out for you guys? I know some of you are looking out on this on cell phones, so it may be too small to read, but some of you are on computers, so it may play out. What's up, y'all? We also have TikTok World on here. Just gonna record it both ways and see which one comes out better. We'll wait another couple minutes. Nobody has any questions? Somebody wants to fire off? Anybody have anything they want to say? Any good positive feedback for the week? Something good that happened today in your training? Something that you may have learned? No. I found out today that I can push press 115 pounds 100 times. So there you go. I shared my thing.
My friend from Atlanta is here, and so she brought me some of the sugarless, low-carb desserts.
Hey, that's good.
So for anybody out there, I don't know, it's the only place I've ever seen like this, and I've met the owner of the bakery. A lady has worked her entire career to create desserts for, primarily it started out for diabetic friends and family members. And she has adapted recipes for all types of food allergies. So her products are even like most of them are all egg-free even. They're sugar-free, gluten-free, low carb, and it just goes on. But it's like a full-blown bakery. like everything you can think of, like savory treats, sweet treats.
Wow.
It's pretty amazing to me that someone has put that much work and effort providing, as she said, like, children come in who have never had a birthday cake because they can't have the sugar, and she can make them this beautiful birthday cake that they can have. So things like that are very rewarding. But it is so good, y'all. It is so good. And the cupcakes are beautiful. So there's that. That's been my highlight of the day.
Treats are always good. I went to Chipotle today. They healthy. I didn't have any tortillas, chips. All right. So, hi. I'm sure you guys know me, hopefully. I don't think there's anybody in the channel here that isn't familiar with me or isn't working with me or Dr. Walker currently. What we're trying to do today is really just go through the basics of nutrition, give you fundamentals of paleo, then give you a brief synopsis of teaching you what metabolic syndrome is. This is an important link of disease and disease process that plays in part into motivation towards why you need to eat clean, why you need to be healthy, and how that translates into the disease processes. So all that is kind of interrelated. So we're just going to give you some foundations in that. See, Mike. And then we're closing up in the gym currently. So we're going to give you some foundations, and then that hopefully give you some information, knock this out in under 45 minutes. So you guys want to get started, we'll get started. So you guys know me. Like I said, I'm Brian, Coach Brian. We have Dr. Walker too. She'll be interjecting and giving points and stuff as we move along if it's needed. If you guys have any questions along the way, feel free to jump in and or just wave in the screen. I can only see 3 people right now, so that's fine. But like I said, if you have any questions, it's fine. We can just move right forward. You know me, we have Shutupeatclean, which all you guys are part of. And then also we have CrossFit Roadhouse, which is the bread and butter of where I started as far as my coaching. I noticed then, if you haven't heard the story, that most people do well within CrossFit, and where they're failing at is their lives away from the gym. So I kind of I had this concept of building up a management program to help people manage their lives outside the gym. Because some people get it, some people don't. Some people have an idea. Like I have an idea, but I need a little bit higher level of accountability too. So I noticed that as well. So I continue to develop the plan to where it's at today. And I feel like we have a really solid program that's based on science. We based on action testing over thousands of clients, over 1,000 hours, thousands of hours over many years. The things that work the best for psychologically, physiologically, on a nutritional standpoint for the generalized public, which is what we're trying to do. Okay, we're gonna get into some boring stuff first. So there's some scientific side of things what we got to talk about, and I have to start in an aspect where maybe you've never heard anything before. So I don't know. So this is where we're going to start. Okay, there are 3 different macronutrients that our body uses for energy: protein, fat, and carbohydrate. The word macro you can kind of see here. I wonder if I think I have a laser pointer. You guys can probably see my thing here. Macronutrients means large. And we also have micronutrients, which is what our bodies use to break down in smaller particles to fuel and build and make our bodies move. That's, you probably heard that with like chromium kaolinate, minerals, vitamin D, that kind of stuff, vitamins and things like that. But we're not talking about that today. We're going to talk about protein, fat, and carbohydrate. On a smaller level, micronutrients is where they come from macronutrients. Does that make sense? All right. So what is protein? Protein is one of the building blocks of the body. I feel like it's the most important nutrient, and it's also probably the most underutilized. Most people that I come in contact with are protein deficient. They chronically undereaten protein, and mainly because we've been taught over the years that protein is kind of bad, It causes a little bit of cholesterol, so you must avoid it in large quantities. And some of that is true, but most of it is false. So let's go into some science of it. Proteins are essential nutrients for the human body. They are one of the building blocks of the body tissue and can also serve as a fuel source. So most people may understand or may not, protein can break it down into glucose. So if you have inadequate supplies of carbohydrate and or fat, our bodies will use protein as energy. So we'll break it down into glucose. As a fuel, protein contains 4 calories per gram. So 4 calories, 1 gram. Just like carbohydrates. So carbohydrates are also 1 calorie for 4 grams. And unlike lipids, which are 9 calories for 1 gram. 9. I'll get that right. The most important defining aspect characteristic from the nutritional standpoint is amino acid composition. Protein breaks down to amino acids that's then stored in the liver. This question comes up a lot. So we need amino acids, and that chain of amino acids goes throughout the day to build adequate amounts of muscle. Typically, we have 4 to 6 hours of stored aminos in our liver to facilitate normal muscle use. If we go past that time domain, then we will start to break down our own muscle tissue. So then it is important to get adequate supplies of protein throughout the day. Does that make sense? So what are proteins? Does anybody know? Proteins are chicken, right? Beef, fish, some vegetables. You can get protein from a lot of different sources. And some people say that it's impossible to gain muscle mass without proteins. As far as animal proteins, that's incorrect. You look at a gorilla, right? Gorillas are pretty big animals. They have lots of muscle, and they don't eat meat. So you can get protein from vegetables, but you have to eat copious amounts. In this particular,
now we have available like the Dave's Killer Breads, like that particular manufactured bread, which is getting into, it is a bread product, but those have high amounts of protein in them when you're looking for additional protein sources. And the Birch Benders, I believe, is the brand that makes like a waffle mix. And then there's the Kodiak pancake waffle mix that has a higher amount of protein. So there are some things like that too, which are, I know they don't completely fit under the paleo, like the strictest of the paleo standards, but they do give us some plant-based proteins.
Right. In this particular diet, and what I was talking about here, 40% of your diet should be protein. And that rotates around the individual and the energy levels. Most people, I personally start at 40% fat because it's kind of a history lesson I've learned for people that need to lose weight, that you need to eat more fat. Or if you're an athlete, you need to eat 40% of protein, and or equal to at least 0.75 to 1 gram per pound. So like in this particular example I have highlighted here, the average person or athlete, if you're an athlete, you should be eating at least 210 grams of protein if you weigh 210 pounds. So most of my clients do not take in that amount, and that's mainly because that we're trying to get through weight loss. As we progress forward, and Dr. Walker will tell you, you'll eventually get equal to your body weight and protein once you get your goal weight squared away. That's the way that rolls. Anybody have any questions about protein? Move forward. Okay, so we're going to talk about fats now. Fats are a group.
Raquel has a question.
Okay.
Always have questions.
Yes.
I've heard about aminos, like aminos as supplements. I actually got some from Keon or something like that. What
Yes.
about that? It's not protein in itself, but
Yeah.
it's okay to supplement yourself with aminos.
So, so what her question was is what about aminos? If you couldn't hear that, and or is amino supplementation okay, and does it work? Um, so, in my experience for aminos, yes, they do work. You want to be careful with what particular companies that you use. So, you want to use a high end company or someone that's been rated pretty high. There's a lot of companies that come on the block and try to sell aminos, and we have found through third party testing that they don't they don't provide aminos that actually can be broken down into use. Does that make sense?
That's
So you
it.
want to do a little bit of side research to make sure everything's third party tested. Number one. Number two, if you're training at a higher level, like most of you guys are, it's okay for amino acids. I personally can tell a difference when I'm taking amino acids as far as my uh, endurance and capacity, and also recovery. So there is a chain of it's like a train. The aminos kind of group together, right? And if you're short one, the train stops coming. So most people think that if I'm taking aminos, my train is always moving. But also, if I'm eating protein constantly, the train is also constantly moving. Does that make sense?
Well, and
So, so
you know,
what that means is if you're eating protein, then your body's breaking down the aminos that you need, and it's going to store it in the liver. So then, therefore, you don't have to take supplementation for aminos. Does that make sense? Someone like me, like I burn 4,500 calories a day, so it's really hard for me to space out my proteins adequately for for my system. So then I should supplement. For most of y'all, if you eat, I'm just trying to help you guys understand it. Yes, you can take it, but if you're eating adequately, then you don't have to.
that's what I was going to say. You don't want to substitute, you don't want to replace
Yeah.
and count on protein shakes and amino acids and collagen peptides and things like that that have protein content and they have value, but you don't want to rely on that as your primary source.
Right.
So my thoughts is if we are getting a good variety, like if you're getting fish, chicken, lean beef, and then you're supplementing with the others, then that's okay. As long
Right.
as it's not primarily we're going to drink these shakes and then we're going to eat a little bit,
Right.
but our primary source is what we eat and then we supplement.
We all get in trouble with that. We get busy and we start fixing shakes, and that's a lot easier and that kind of stuff. And the verdict is still out on that kind of stuff. We don't know what the long-term effects of ultra processed milk is going to do to our systems. And we're going to get into that in a little bit with carbohydrates. The main problem with most processed items is that our bodies can process the uh, the energy of it very quickly, so it goes into our bloodstream very quickly, which causes our blood sugar to go up, which creates an insulin response, and then that delays the body's ability to be able to break down fat. So it's better for fat loss to try to eat things that forces your body to work to digest. Does that make sense? The faster the stuff gets into your bloodstream, the higher levels of insulin, the more difficult it is to lose weight. It's a hormonal thing. Because if you think about it, our ancestors didn't go run a mile and go try to kill an animal after they killed an animal. They sat down and chilled out for a while, right? But conversely, it would, be 4, 5, 6, 10 hours to try to kill an animal. So our bodies have to have the ability to pull from energy that it has not eaten yet, right? That's why we don't have hair in our bodies. It's because we have to sweat, right? And that through that process of sweating and breathing is how we get energy out of our system, like burning fat. other animals pant, because they have hair and they can't sweat. So that's part of the chemical process and the anatomy of work, and that's the way it kind of rolls out. I hope I answered your question, Raquel. Good to go. All right. So we're moving quickly into fat. All right. So fat is probably the most underutilized, most important of the macronutrients. I said earlier, most people are under eating in protein, but also we are also under eating in fat, especially the healthy fats. A lot of the polysaturated fats that we get through cooking oils and processed foods and all that kind of stuff is not what we should be putting into our diet. What we should be really focusing on is monosaturated fats, which is the olive oils and all that kind of stuff. That's why I'm a big fan. If you're in my VPT program, I tell a lot of people to have a scoop of protein and tablespoon of olive oil is the best blend of macros that you can, put in your system. If you throw a banana in there with it, it's actually perfectly balanced. So let's go into fats. This is why fats are important. Fats are a group of naturally occurring molecules that include fats, waxes, sterols, fat soluble vitamins. So that means that you get your vitamins A, D, E, and K through fat. So if you're not eating enough fats, then you're not getting enough A, D, E, and K. D especially is the main communicator for sex hormones. Sex hormones is what is a primary driver of muscle gain and fat loss. Okay, so if you're down on D, then that can affect your testosterone levels. Does that make sense? And then if your testosterone levels are low, your estrogen levels are going to be high, and you're going to gain weight. And you guys know A and E especially is important for skin and eyes. So this is where I think most people are mistaking or making mistakes on their nutrition, is not eating adequate levels of fat. Monoglycerides, diglycerides, triglycerides, phospholipids, and others. The main biological function of lipids includes storing energy. So it's there to help you store fat. Signaling. So signaling is an important component of fat because, like I said, with vitamin D, it's the main communicator. So your brain can't talk hormonally through all the rest of the organs without proper levels of fat. So you're not functioning adequately on a communication basis if you're not eating adequate levels of fat. And acting as a structural component of cell membranes, lipids have applications in cosmetic and food industries. A lot of people don't know, and this is a weird thing, but right up the road from Mobile, there's a city called Pascagoula. Pascagoula has a fish netting business that it literally is a netting. It's a giant boat, like 300-foot boat, with two smaller boats on each side, and it just scrapes the bottom. And they pull up a couple of tons of fish every day, bring them back and boil it, and it makes the town stink really bad. But the from the boiling process, the fats rise to the top, and that's how they manufacture your lipstick. So there you go, cosmetic and food industries. So as well as nanotechnology, fat should be 30% of your diet on a 40-30-30 scale. Any questions about fat? Again, any healthy fats from vegetables are what you want to go with. That pretty much settles it. Olive oil, right? Sesame seed oil.
Nuts and seeds.
Seeds and nuts, which is why, if you eat adequate levels of seeds and nuts, you're going to be fine typically with your fat.
Chia seeds. To me, chia seeds are like the miracle food because they have the perfect balance of macronutrients as well. They're right. Super high in the healthy fats. The carbohydrate levels in them are balanced, but they're mostly, it's almost like 100% fiber. And then they have high levels of protein too. So you can add those dry to a shake and it gives it texture, I guess is the best way.
They
But
expand a little bit.
yeah, or you can just let it sit and they kind of congeal. So if you haven't heard me say it before, I usually tell people all the time, eat some chia seeds, eat some chia seeds. It's really good. It's like tapioca pudding.
Yeah,
You let it sit.
that's exactly what it's like. All right, so we'll move on from that if you don't have any questions about it. All right, so the most important part, where most people mess up on their nutrition, is carbohydrates. So I'm going to read through this, and we're going to work through the scientific definition because it's going to make some sense to you, and then there's going to be some big words. So we're going to walk our way through it. All right. So carbohydrates perform numerous roles in living organisms. So some people question whether or not we need carbohydrate. So what do you guys think? Do you think we need carbohydrate? Is it essential? Yeah. So why do you think that like high protein diets are really popular if carbohydrates are essential? Because a lot of people can't discipline themselves with it. I think Raquel's going to raise her hand.
I was going to say rapid fat loss in the beginning. That's why they're popular.
Yeah.
Water loss.
Yep. That and it removes decisions. Some people can't make the right decisions, so if you just take them away, and that's so fine. Like me, if I can't have Cocoa Pebbles in my house, if I have them, I eat the whole box until it's gone. It's gonna worry me until it's all gone. So, I just can't have it in my house. That's my story. So, that kind of stuff, you just gotta eliminate it if you know your personality. So they are essential, but we want to get into the right types of carbohydrates. So we're going to talk about the scientific definition and the right types of carbohydrate, and we're going to work our way through it. Carbohydrates perform numerous roles in living organisms. Polysaccharides serve for the storage of energy. So what did we say? What was storage of energy? We said that was fat earlier, right? So there is a particular carbohydrate that serves as for fat storage. Somebody's trying to enter the room. All right. So that is actually starches and glycogen. So if you think about what are starches, things that are white, right, in nature. Most things that are white in nature are starches. So there is a natural signal toward the storage component when it comes to food. Raquel, you got me? You look kind of confused there.
Oh, I'm trying to read that too.
Uh,
I always look confused, but don't judge my face.
So that pretty much tells the story on what the deal is with potatoes and bananas, right? They're there to help you store fat. Now, if you're the type of person that's trying to build a little bit of muscle and you want your insulin levels to go up high, then that's okay. We're going to get into that a little bit later because I have a little story to tell about that, but that's the way that rolls. All right. As a structural component, cellulose in plants and chitin in arthropods, the 5-carbon monosaccharide ribose is an important component of coenzymes ATP, FAD, and NAD. This is what our muscles use to power themselves. Adenosine triphosphate is the main component of what moves our muscle chemically. Okay. And the backbone of genetic molecule known as RNA, so it goes into our genetics as well. The related deoxyribose is a component of DNA. Saccharides and their derivatives include many other important biomolecules that play roles in immune system, fertilization, preventing pathogenesis. So this is an important little aspect, preventing pathogenesis. So what is pathogenesis? Cancer, right? So in the true sense of carbohydrate, which are greens, they prevent cancer. In the process side, they help cancer grow. So you have to be really careful with that, especially people that have a history of or family history of of breast cancer, you want to be extremely careful about your carbohydrate intake when it comes to pathogenesis. Everybody got me on that? They play it, Carolyn?
So should I not eat bananas every day? I have a banana every day with my shake.
So no, it's fine. If it fits your, if you fit, you know, I don't want, I'm trying to help you guys understand some tricks of the trade, right? But also understand the seriousness if you aren't healthy and you're eating this constantly. Okay, so I'm giving the worst case scenario so you'll find, you know, middle area.
And there, like you said, if it fits into your macronutrient prescription for the day and your calories and all of that, but you just need to look at your overall, like your sugar content too, like the grams of sugar, and think about like bang for your buck, you know, like could you eat more of something else and have more, you know, be more full? Does that make sense? Like, and have less sugar and less carbs.
So what you're saying is like you can eat like a half
banana.
pound of, you can eat like a half of, like a, you know, 500 grams of sweet potatoes, or like a whole pound of zucchini for the same exchange as one banana. Like
Got
2 pounds of zucchini is barely 100 calories.
Okay.
Crazy.
So just, you know,
So
you
that's
weigh it
what
out.
you're saying.
Like,
But I personally, I'm a fan of bananas. If I'm trying to maintain muscle or not lose weight, I eat bananas. If I'm trying to lose weight, I take away bananas. Yeah, I know. So it's just it goes
and
into,
then,
you
you
know,
know, some days I get crazy and I eat 2 bananas and I think, what am I doing? You know, because they're both right. Like the 2 bananas here, and they're both right. I'm like, well, I gotta eat them.
we're about to get into why that's important. We're about to, I'm gonna really drive it home, you guys, so you guys can understand. So blood clotting and development, carbs should be 30% ratio and a 40-30-30 ratio. So there's lots of definitions. Some people say that you need to be at 40% carbs, and I've seen that too before. People with weight loss go into a 40% carb situation, and it really increases the weight loss. So that's up for us to kind of decide. As long as you're close within that ratio of those 3, 40, 30, 30, you can throw it either way between fat, carbs, and protein, you're going to be okay. It's the bigger part of it is are you tracking it? You know, are you trying to hit that target? And so that's where the 40, 30, 30 kicks in at. Any questions about that?
Yeah, I have a question. So the most important number is the protein. You have to hit at least 40, right?
Yes.
The other two just, you know.
You know, you remember we have a target.
Yes.
And if you're eating intuitively, you're not going to hit the target perfectly, but you're going to get pretty damn close.
Okay.
And that's why I give that 10% rule within a nutrition. So for instance, I'm supposed to be eating 3,500 calories a day. My 10% would be 350 calories. So that means I can go to 3,800 or go to 3,200, and I'm going to be within my window, right? We can safely assume that some things that we're going to track is not going to be adequately perfect for us, but the deal of it is still just tracking it. Nothing's ever going to be perfect. We're very lucky now in the world that we are in now versus 10 years ago tracking nutrition. No one had a clue. There was no apps. There was no nothing. We kind of just winged it. I'm sure you guys have all been through that. Remember that part of the science. So, you know, no one understood anything. Things that have went so far advanced today that it's incredible. And you can see that in people. There's so many people that are walking around lean and in shape and they look good. So, any questions about macronutrients?
I was just going to suggest to follow up on Raquel's question about protein. What, you know, we say prioritize protein. And so one thing you can do is you can get in your app and play around, and you can put in 140 grams of protein. Let's just say that's because we're looking at a 0.75 to a 1 gram ratio to your weight. So I just pulled a number out, you know, 140 grams of protein a day. And so I can go in my app and I can plug that in and just kind of see where that falls on the calories. And then I can add in my carbs and my fats, and you can play around with it before you actually eat it and decide, and look at that and how does that stack up on your percentage. So personally, and he talked about action research earlier, that's where a lot of this comes from. I personally kind of tweak my own nutrition at different times to see, and I've tried going up to 40% carbs and dropping down in the fats and the proteins. For me, for my body and how I process and just everything, it's not good for me. Like, I don't feel as well. I don't have the energy levels. I feel more lethargic. I feel a little more fuzzy. So like my mental state is not as great. So I like to keep myself at 40% fats and then 30 and 30 on the carbs and proteins. But I've played with that, you know, after I reach my goal weight, and I've kind of just looking at it. So I think that's the good thing. Like he was saying, with the technology we have, we can look at that and kind of see. But during your fat loss time, you want to you're going to be much more restrictive. But then once you reach your goals, then you can start kind of seeing like how do I feel better, and make decisions for yourself on that.
So I have a hypothetical with that whole situation. As I've researched, or I'm a big fan of like genetic history. You know, some of you have, I'm sure we've talked about it, and especially within epigenetics. So epigenetics is the study of our genes, but our genes reaction to the external world. So when you're born, you have a set of genes. Here's your genes. And then when you eat food and do things, they change. Buttons turn on, buttons turn off, things change, right? So that when you're 50, you're going to look like a whole different person genetically, probably physically, but genetically, it's not even going to look even similar. They've studied this through twins, and they know this through twins. They've taken the genetic component of twins as babies and then done it again in adulthood now. And their genetic traits look completely different. So to go into that, the reason why I think that cycling fat to carbohydrate is important is because our ancestors only had about 3 months in the spring to eat carbs when the fruits came, and then they were gone again. Okay, so where I think that carbohydrates in a cycle, in like mesocycles, you know, as I'm your coach and I'm doing the whole puppeteer thing, right? I've got this whole setup in my head for each of you on a year component. And you've got numbers you got to hit within smaller cycles and then larger cycles. So it's my job to help you guide you through these smaller cycles, which are going to be full of fat. And eventually we're going to, in a really small cycle you with carbohydrate and then switch you back. All right. So this is kind of where we are. So you can kind of understand the background on all this. I may have went a little bit too far with that, but you know, that's the way that goes. So we're gonna go further into carbohydrates and what's good and what's bad. And this is the reason why paleo works so well. Paleo, but it's because it removes the aspect of high glycemic carbohydrates. So let's break down this word. So we've got low and high. Everybody understands that. Glyc. What is the phonetic meaning for glyc? It means sugar, glycogen, glyc, right? Emic is blood. So it says in the word what it is. So we got low glycemic. So what does that say? Low blood sugar. High glycemic. High blood sugar. Everybody get that? Okay. So those are the two different types of carbohydrates. We got low glycemic, and I'm going to go through it. High glycemic. Remember, I mentioned this earlier, and this is a critical component when we were talking about bananas. The difference between low glycemic and high glycemic carbohydrates are the rate at which it is absorbed into the bloodstream. typically processed foods were something they were chopped up and then heated and thrown in a bag and then chopped up and heated and thrown in another bag, chopped up, heated, and then they're Doritos, right? So because of all that process, number one, it's not hard for your body to break that down because it's already been broke down 5 times. Number two, there's no nutrients left in it. So if you think about a Dorito and how fast it goes into your mouth and how fast it will be digested in the gut, it's going to go fast into your bloodstream. When it goes fast into your bloodstream, high glycemic occurs, high blood sugar, then the insulin levels go up. When your insulin levels are up, you cannot produce glucagon, which is the hormone that breaks down fat. It's yin and yang. You got to choose. This is the reason why that most people, after they eat something that's really bad for you, feel bad after. It's because your body does its job, gobbles up all the sugar, and then stores it, and then you don't have anything, you don't have any hormone abilities to be able to break down the fat and turn it to glucose, and so you have an energy problem. And then what most people make the mistake with, they go eat more crap to fill in that hole. And then that process goes on and on and on. That chronic inflammation process goes on and on and on. We're going to get further in that later on. But I just want you guys to understand the health importance between low glycemic and high glycemic carbs. Everybody got that? Okay. So let's talk about low glycemic carbohydrates. Again, these are typically things that have been grown. They're not manufactured. They came from the earth, so therefore your body has the work to digest it. We got avocados, beans, white, black, pink, lentil, soy, almond, peanut, walnut, chickpeas, small seeds, sunflower, flax, pumpkin, poppy, most whole intact grains, most vegetables, most sweet fruits, peaches, strawberries, mangoes, tacos, fructose, mushrooms, and chilies. So anything that typically comes from the earth is going to be high glycemic. There are some, or low glycemic. There are some exceptions. The exceptions are white things that come from the earth. So we have a signal. So the exception for high glycemic vegetables are white. Okay, so we got the high glycemic carbohydrates are white bread, most white rice. So there's the one exception. Corn flakes, extruded breakfast cereals, glucose maltose, maltodextrins, potatoes. There's 2 exceptions. All right, it's still white. Pretzels, bagels, not whole intact wheat bread, enriched wheat bread, pita, basmati rice, grape juice, raisins, prunes, pumpernickel bread. These are all just examples. Of course, regular ice cream, sucrose, and there's your little banana stuck at the bottom. 3. So,
No more banana.
well, one a day, I don't think it's going to be bad for you. Now, if you drop your banana and you lose 5 pounds,
I'm dropping my banana.
now, but also if you drop your banana and you don't feel as good, that could occur too. But you got to make up those calories somehow. For me, it's the easy way.
I thought it was supposed to be good.
Well, there is some, there's large amounts of potassium in bananas and some other things, magnesium, things like that. So, it's good. It's push or pull, right? At least the way I am, some paleo people say, okay, we need to limit or restrict any type of high glycemic carbohydrates. And that in effect is unhealthy. We do need some high glycemic carbohydrates, especially after exercise. So the way it works, and I'm going to go into this story now. Insulin turns on like the opening of this bottle. So now I can pour fluids in it, right? When I have insulin in my body, the bottle's off. The top is off. When I don't have insulin, the top is on. So I'm not putting anything in cells. I'm only extracting. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So after you've worked out, you have torn muscle, right? And you want to be able to deliver, especially amino acids, to those muscles, and they can only be delivered through and attached to insulin. So here's the story. Schwarzenegger back in the day found out this science, and he didn't know, gross of science. He didn't know that it was bad for you. What they used to do back in the day, they would eat a T-bone and drink an entire 3-liter Coke and then go to bed. Because they found out that if I turn on my insulin, then I can build muscle. I mean, it was that simple. And it's true, but it will kill you eventually. Everybody that used to train with Schwarzenegger is dead. So, and he's had 2 heart surgeries himself. Some people might blame that on steroids or whatever, but if you're going to exude health, you got to exude health. He didn't know what the long-term effects of that is, but we see it now. The chronic inflammation is what causes it. So they also, a little small story. I don't know if does anybody know what GHB is? So GHB is what they use for the date rape drug typically, and it'll knock you out if you drink it. They also would go into 2 sleep cycles in a day. So they would take GHB at noon and sleep for 4 hours, and then get up and train, and then repeat that process. So they would get 2 sets of REM sleep in a 24-hour period. So they tweaked the science as much as that. I got this from his book. He wrote this himself. So that's some of the greatest stuff they used to do back in the day. All right. So now we're going to go into paleo nutrition. I have a little quick video here. Has everybody watched this video as far as the paleo guy? No? Let's see if this will play.
I think so.
It may not play on this the way I've got this set up. What I'll do is I'll send this video out and a link for everybody with a copy of this video, and we'll go back and I don't know if it'll play. I could pull it up. We'll just move forward. So let me talk on the level of like why paleo is important. No matter what, we can't escape it. Our ancestors ate a diet consistent of meats, vegetables, seeds, nuts, and fruit. So what happened is a paleontologist had a hypothesis, like what I was talking about earlier. So he questioned science. So his question was, why aren't cavemen showing up in MRIs as having cancer? Why aren't the mummies in Egypt showing up as having cancer in MRIs? And so his hypothesis was that they didn't bring any carcinogens, any pathogens, any carcinogens, whatever that word is for cancer, into their system, and because of the fact that they ate a diet consistent of meats, vegetables, seeds, nuts, and fruit. So that's why it's what they call paleo, the caveman diet's important. It's a diet that historically and genetically our bodies are okay with digesting. You look at Doritos are new. Ice cream sandwiches are new. Burritos and tortillas and all those kind of stuff is fairly new for most of us. Some people from Europe have trouble eating tomatoes because we're not used to eating tomatoes, so it causes a leaky gut situation. So there are some small little things that are natural in health that will cause problems for some of us, but majority of things that we need to eat are all healthy: meats, vegetables, seeds, nuts, and fruit. So that's why we should eat paleo. Do you have any questions on that? So no matter what, if you believe in evolution or creation, either or, we've been eating paleo for at least 200,000 years, or maybe 2 million years. Who knows? If you believe in creation for at least 5,000, that's where Dr. Frida Coleman is coming in. Say hi to Dr. Frida really quick. Hi, Dr. Frida. Welcome to the show. We're talking about paleo. All right. So the reason why paleo is important, I feel like it goes back to the epigenetic type of science. This particular nutrition is what our ancestors ate, so then we should eat it as well. we can still eat other things, but there is a biological ramification for those other things. It's kind of like putting diesel in an unleaded car. It'll run for a second, but eventually it'll blow up. It's kind of the same thing with our systems. Yeah, we can eat this stuff, but there's going to cause a problem in our engine, and it's going to blow up. All right, so there's a little joke. We only been in cooking yesterday, and she's already serving leftovers. It's a little fun joke there. All right. And here's a little flow chart. So simple, a caveman can do it. So meats, vegetables, seeds, nuts, and fruit. You just cycle through that, and I promise you, if you just eat this, you'll stay lean. Because as you guys will find that there's literally, it's almost impossible to eat as much vegetables as you need to get the caloric intake that you need. If you ate 4 pounds of zucchini a day, you will not want anything else, because that's 500 grams of zucchini, right? Or 2 pounds of spinach lettuce. Like, so much bulk that you'll not want to eat anything else. So that's why it's so simple. If you stick with this idea of paleo, then it eliminates a lot of the bad situations within nutrition, which is the high glycemic carbohydrate. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead, Carolyn.
Okay, so on the little tracker that we have to input our food to monitor what we're eating, sometimes it'll say that, ooh, you've exceeded your fat or your carbs for the day. And I'm thinking, all I ate was meat, vegetables, and fruit.
Yeah.
So was it bad?
Yeah. No, that's good. No, if you're hitting or exceeding your carbohydrates with vegetables and fruit, you're good to go.
Oh.
Now, if you're exceeding your carbohydrates because you've had Doritos and an ice cream sandwich, then of course that's bad, because you haven't got any nutrients with it either. Right?
Yeah, because I've stopped. I won't even eat my walnuts because they're like, ooh. And I'm like, well, I thought they said we could have nuts. And I've been measuring it out. But if it hits that little, I'm just like, forget it. I'm at a loss.
Good.
And did you, have you, in your nutrition tracking app, you can adjust those percentages. So have you adjusted them and the numbers for your prescribed amount?
Well, I've got my calories in there for 1,200, I think is what I'm on right now. And then I went to adjust the other numbers that are on there, but then it said you had to be at 100% for something, and it wouldn't let me do something. So I'm assuming it's right. I don't know, but
well, look at when you're, oh yes, well, in the apps, sometimes they even change. They'll update an app, and we all have to kind of relearn the app. But in MyFitnessPal and in Lose It, both of them, you can look at percentages, but you can also look at the actual grams. So and let's not forget to calculate this in. Oftentimes, the information that has been entered, it may not be verified. So you need to look for verified food items if you can, because it could just be another person out there putting in information, and it could be like really wrong. Like they could put in something and add. I've ran into it a few times where I'll try to put a food in and it'll say like 400 grams of fat or something, and I know that's wrong. So I'll look for another entry. But you should be able to look at not just the percentage, but also at the actual number of grams. And your prescribed amount is in your True Coach app. If you'll go into True Coach, you can look at your nutrition and see exactly how many grams of proteins, carbs, and fats that you need each day. So you can kind of compare it there with the actual number instead of just percentage.
Well, I tried doing that. Now that you mentioned that, it made me remember that it allowed me to change it, because I was trying to put it on the grams, I think is what y'all have on the True Coach. But when I changed it, it wouldn't let me do it, because it said something about percentages, and I had to set it back. So I was like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, and things can get very complicated like that. But, just stick with the numbers that we gave you, and don't worry about the app so much. It'll take care. That it's a computer. It can't deal with gray decisions. It's white or black.
But, and just because, again, you can go ahead. I don't know if that requires you to have a premium subscription or not, but even if it's just today, like if you're on the day you're on, before you eat anything, you can enter it in your app and look at it. and then go, oh, wait, I don't need 3 tablespoons of sunflower seeds. I only need 1 tablespoon of sunflower seeds in order to get my number of fats. So sometimes, like for me, I kind of eat intuitively, and eat basically the same kinds of things for breakfast and lunch and my snack. And then at dinner, that's when I go and look, and I have to start doing a little bit of math. And I go, okay, well, today, like right now, I had a huge salad for lunch, and I had over 500 grams of vegetables. And my whole entire salad was only like, with the chicken and with the walnuts on it and everything, it was still only about 400 calories,
Yeah.
because you can eat a lot of vegetables and not have a lot of calories. But I'm actually a little low on fat and a little low on carbs. And so my snack tonight, before I go to bed, that's how I'll adjust. I'll have a piece of Dave's Killer Bread with some plant butter on it or something like that, but then tomorrow night, if I'm low on protein, then I'll have a protein shake, or, so I have to, I guess that, the way I'm saying it is like, I still have to tweak it. Like, even though, I know what I'm supposed to be eating and I'm kind of eating intuitively, but I still, at the end of the day, am finding myself looking back through and going, okay, well, what do I need to eat, or what can I eat before I go to bed? Because I like to have a snack before I go to bed. So, that's how I decide what my snack is going to be, is where can I fit different macronutrients in.
So what she's trying to
Okay.
describe is, as you get a little bit better in all this, you can eat a pre-programmed breakfast and lunch, or go the opposite. Don't program your breakfast and lunch, and then put that into the app, and then see what you have left to be able to fill in for dinner and snack it. And this is also how I do mine. So I know that because I'm at work and I'm limited for lunch and breakfast, I'm eating typically a lot of the same things a lot. So then I know what I have to plug in for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
But also that works for, like, if you're going to lunch with someone and you're eating out your typical pattern, you can input that in and then go back and see what you have to plug in afterwards. So you can backfill and reverse engineer. As you start to get better at this is going to pay forward to help you make better decisions intuitively.
Right. And
So,
this gives each person ownership, like, we all live differently, and this is why this program is sustainable. And we live different from one another, but then our days don't always look exactly alike. So we have to be able to adjust, and we have to be able to, to make those decisions and still choose the healthy things, and not just run to go, okay, well, I'm behind and I don't know what to eat, so I'm just going to go to McDonald's, like, don't do that. So there's ways that you can compensate and learn to fill in, and figure it out, but even when so hang in there, keep going. You're doing a good job, but, just keep working through those numbers.
all right, so we're moving into how to really try to manufacture your day when it comes to intuitively when it comes to your paleo diet. We want 80%, of course, of your diet to be clean, paleo. Within that 80%, we want you to eat 80% of your caloric intake to be meats and vegetables, 10% to be seeds and nuts, 5% to be some fruits, 5% to be little starch. So this is where the little starch, which is the bananas, Carolyn, you were talking about earlier, can fit into your diet. We all need a little bit of starch in our diet. It's not that bad. What is actually bad is sugar. Okay. So again, meats, vegetables, seeds, some fruit, little starch. They all run, 80% meats and vegetables, 10% seeds and nuts. Basically one serving of fruit, one serving of starch. And that's the way that rolls out. That's basically what my nutrition looks like. 90% of it. I still follow that formula today. This is the formula that CrossFit teaches. It's what they taught us in 09. So it still works today, Now, as an overview, looking from the top, looking from into the way your week is supposed to roll out here, how to apply our 80-20 plan. So I have this infographic that Dr. Walker made for me because I don't know how to do this kind of stuff. the way this graph rolls out here, you can see on a graph how Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday looks as far as what we want you to do for your nutrition. We've got this actually completely, this is mathematically correct too, for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 servings a day. This comes out to be 80-20. So if you're eating 5 meals a day, you can have a little bit of a cheat on Sunday, a little bit of cheat on Wednesday, and you're having your full cheat on Friday. So you're basically going every other day for your nutrition here. Who can't make it every other day eating clean? Come on. It's so simple. Me too. I know we all make mistakes. I'm just saying, we're just, we want you to try. I'm trying to give you the best winning formula to try to stay within this plan.
We have to have a target to know where to aim.
Yeah, you gotta have a target.
And so the only way you truly miss and truly fail by not trying at all. Like you're going to hit somewhere on that. And so this is where we're aiming for. This is the gold star, and then
so we have this little symbol. I figured out where my laser pointer is now. This could be a Halo ice cream here, or this could be, something else. Please, though, if you're going to cheat, eat something that's going to be nutrient dense. So you could cheat with, a lot of watermelon, as long as it fits your mac,
2 bananas.
Carolyn
and I could go with our bananas.
All right. So
protein bars.
And then, of course, on Friday we got our fast Friday, and then on Saturday you're fasting for your walk, and then you're going to get 3 meals behind that. So that's the way that rolls out. We got a lot of fasting on the weekends. Does everybody understand why we fast? Anybody have any questions behind that?
Okay. Burns fat? I don't know.
I'm sorry?
I said it burns fat? I don't know.
Burns fat, but also gives your liver a break. Our ancestors didn't have a constant supply of Doritos. Right? So, their bodies had to fight to break down carbohydrates, and it had to work to break down carbohydrates. So our bodies are used to taking breaks from carbohydrates and also taking breaks from food. This whole thing that we were taught as youngsters, that we got to eat all the time to stay healthy, is not actually true. So, any questions on that? No? And if you have trouble tracking your macros, which you shouldn't, you guys are with me, this is a simple way to set up your plate. We got animals on the left side, plants on the right side, water on the right side. It's not that hard. So if you set your plate up like this, I guarantee you have a 6-pack. Prove me wrong. This is coming from the Department of Health and Human Services. ChooseMyPlate.gov. This is what the reason why I included this in here is because the government is not always right. I left a little pause there. So this is what they recommend, which is a lot of grains. So this goes into a little bit of this counterintuitive to what we try to apply. We want you to go plants and vegetables, right? And then the reason why they put the grains there is I think just to make sure the grain industry doesn't fall apart. So they actually, strangely enough, they made a South Park episode about this entire picture. I'm not lying. You got to watch it. I was completely vindicated in life when I saw them using this picture that I use in my PowerPoint. It's funny. Basically, they're saying that gluten will cause you to explode, and that's what was causing them. That's what was happening. So they outlawed gluten. People were living in Domino's pizza shelters. It was a crazy episode. Anyway, that's what that is. All right, so we're done with macronutrients and paleo. We're going to go into this metabolic syndrome. We're talking about that, the way this whole thing rolls out for insulin and the way it harms your body and it creates a chronic state of inflammation. The chronic state of inflammation has a effect on your body, and metabolic syndrome is that effect. Metabolic syndrome kills more people than any other death combined with an active people living. So if you die from heart disease, cancer, stroke, diabetes, or Alzheimer's, it's because you had metabolic syndrome. Period. And we're not talking about it. And it is a travesty. The reason why we're not talking about it, I don't know why. I know why, but I'm not going to talk about it now. All I can do within my scope of care is educate you on it so you can understand the dangers of it and also what to be looking out for. Okay. So metabolic syndrome is a disorder of energy utilization and storage diagnosed by the co-occurrence of 3 of the 5 following medical conditions. So it's not like you're going to grow extra appendage and they're going to say you have metabolic syndrome. You have to have several symptoms to be considered to be diagnosed with that. And 9 times out of 10, doctors aren't going to mention it because they don't understand it themselves, because they don't know how to treat it. I think our program and my idea of scope, when I first started this many decades ago, this is what I was going after. And this is what was in my target. I wanted to be able to build a rehabilitation system for metabolic syndrome so that people can survive it. Okay. So to give you a little bit of backstory on that, I had an uncle that I love dearly. He retired from Alabama Power and had a heart attack, died like 3 weeks after he retired. So I always thought that his family's taken care of, thank goodness, everything's good with all that kind of stuff. But he worked hard his whole life. He worked 12-hour shifts for 35 years, 6 or 7 days a week, and he didn't get to enjoy any of his hard work. And he died from metabolic syndrome, which is diabetes crossed with high blood pressure crossed with heart disease. So this is what turned it on for me: is what can we do for people like that? So this is the process, and I want you to understand that reverse engineering everything we do within Shutupeatclean is to defeat this process. So I'm going to tell you the importance of it. It's a disorder of energy utilization and storage diagnosed by co-occurrence of 3 of the 5 following medical conditions. Abdominal central obesity, and typically that's defined as your stomach measurement being the same as your hip measurement or larger. If your stomach measurement is larger, equal to, or larger than your hips, then you have a positive symptom within that. Okay. Also, elevated fasting plasma glucose. So if you fast and your glucose is over 100, that's a positive symptom. High serum triglycerides. So if your LDL, HDL, triglycerides, cholesterol, any of those are high or abnormal, then you're positive for that. And then low high density, so that low the HDL, low density cholesterol, HDL level situation. Metabolic syndrome increases the risk of developing cardiovascular disease, particularly heart failure, stroke, some cancers, diabetes. And studies have shown the prevalence of USA to be an estimated 34% of the adult population. I can safely say through the last 15 years of my experience that probably 70% of the population could be qualified to be diagnosed with adult population, some within the kids too, with metabolic syndrome. So it's a disorder of energy utilization and storage. So how you're using your carbohydrates and fat. That's how that is defined. Your risk factors for metabolic syndrome are stress, overweight and obesity, sedentary lifestyle, aging, diabetes mellitus type 2, coronary heart disease, liver dystrophy, schizophrenia, or other psychiatric illnesses and rheumatic diseases. So these are the risk factors. So things, if you have these things, then it also increases your chances of having metabolic syndrome. Most of us are stressed. Most of us can be considered as overweight or obese. Before you joined our program, most of us were all sedentary. Most of us are all aging. So there's four right there that we can all raise our hands on. Hopefully, I think everybody's good to go on the rest of these, but these are things that could cause it. So if you have any of these things, you want to be paying particular attention to it. I've got some more films here to kind of show, and I'll send those out if you're interested. You can holler back at me, and I'll send those out to you, or you can Google, you can YouTube metabolic syndrome to learn more on that. Also, the problem with how it interlinks with diabetes as well. So part of the whole scenario with metabolic syndrome is that I think that America, and I've done a study on this. Each American is spending about $1,500 a year, whether or not you have metabolic syndrome or not, through taxes, through the process of treating metabolic syndrome. We also know it's also the most deadly thing that happens within our culture. So it's really important for us to focus on it and defeat it. Our program, again, is meant to help you manage it and defeat it. Hopefully never get it. And if you see somebody that you think that may have it, send them our way. Let me talk to them. Let me help them out. Or at least, get them introduced to it. Pull it up on YouTube. Let them help them understand that, you're 65%, your chances of dying from stroke, diabetes, heart disease, and cancer is increased by 65% once you have this. So greater than 50% of dying from it. This is not just, having a heart attack. It's gonna kill you 50% of the time. So you can think about if there was a cancer out there and you died from it 50% of the time, that would be a big deal. Same thing with COVID. What if 50% of people that caught COVID died from it? Why aren't we talking about this? It's a big deal. It's like it's been hidden. You can't even find it in literature. So, but this whole program has been made. There's lots of money to be made off of it. That's why I'm not talking about it. So the easiest way to fix it is to walk and eat clean. You can beat it. You can't put that in a pill. So that's the reason why it's the way it is. So I've got some videos here for the set points. What my idea in this whole situation is to be able to email this out to you, and then you can have the PowerPoint for yourself, and you can play these videos. If you guys haven't watched the Fit Thinker the Warrior Way, all you guys should already watch this as part of your homework. I'm trying to play, and then I've got some more here.
So guys,
Be weird and play. All right. So in conclusion, and we're going to wrap it up here. I really truly believe that as we figure this scenario out, and I'll talk to y'all about this a lot, it's our job to help transcend our own lives so then we can help others. So you got to figure out your own shit. You got to clean your own room, work through your own processes, and then reach out and try to help others, right? So that creates, whenever you do that, that creates ripples. And those ripples go out and they may touch other people, and they may, see that process of how you've become better. You're more energetic, you feel better, and they will want a piece of that as well. So that could be part of your motivation to do well in the program. I've seen it personally through a lot of different clients, but one mainly that I've seen, this is about a decade ago. She had lost so much weight over the summer. This is a quick funny story. She had lost so much weight over the summer she teaches Sunday school, and she decided at the end of the summer to go to big church with her husband. And she was walking through church with her husband, and one of the deacon's wives grabbed her husband by the arm and shook him and said, "How dare you bring another woman to this church? Where's your wife?" And she had to pull out her driver's license for that deacon's wife to show her who she was. And that person changed a lot of different people's lives. Once people saw her lose weight and that whole scenario took over, then it created a wildfire of change in her community. So that is kind of a big deal within our program too. We want to be able to reach out and help other people too. So hopefully it could be a motivation for you to help yourself and then help other people. You don't know how far and how many people need the help. You know, just some advice. You know. Again, I got some more set point videos here, and if you guys haven't watched it, please watch the 5 Rules of Sleep, 10K Lifestyle. It's part of the program. If you have any questions about it, fire away. We're going to go into a Q&A session now, and then I'll let you guys know because we ran over a little bit, which is fine. But some more set point videos. I had some more on here.
Anybody have any questions?
No questions? You know, what my primary job in this today, I felt like, was to do what I always do. I have to help people understand the significance of carbohydrates and in the inflammatory process that it creates. It's not just some guy trying to tell you to shut up, eat clean. I'm trying to tell you to shut up and save your life, because it's that serious. It will kill you, and there's no way around it. So it's really important that we all, you know, try to stay within parameters of our nutrition, because, you know, everything's out there to tempt us nowadays. So if you guys don't have any questions, I'll let you guys go. This will come out in a video format, and I'll put it on YouTube. And then you guys can always go back and look at it if you have any questions. Again, you can always send me a message too if you have questions. Thanks for jumping in, everybody, and I appreciate it. Carolyn, do you have anything? I know you got to go do some work. Probably mess up your whole schedule.
Like I still have miles to get in.
Me too, girl. Me too.
Look, hey.
I started, but
I'm watching it completely day to day. It's the first time ever. So.
Yeah, and my phone's about to die. So yeah. And
I
still have to eat dinner.
Thanks for attending. We're going to do another one probably, if not this week, next. You guys take care.
Thank y'all. Thank
Bye.
you guys.
All right, bye.
Take it out.